Anyone who has been following me for a reasonable amount of time will know I've made quite a few videos about the FilthyFrank clones. However, I've never actually made a video about the main man himself. During his time on YouTube as the FilthyFrank character, George Miller was able to entertain millions through his excessively vulgar and offensive brand of comedy. This, alongside the lore and recurring characters, made FilthyFrank stand out as one of YouTube's most unique figures. Both FilthyFrank and Pink Guy are still extremely iconic in terms of the history of YouTube, and have inspired a plethora of clone channels. Despite their best efforts, we'll probably never see anything like the original FilthyFrank again. YouTube is now more strict on offensive content, and with the success of George's music career under the alias Joji, there's no reason for him to return anytime soon. With this in mind, I thought it'd be interesting to look back at the beginning of FilthyFrank, and look at his journey into becoming one of the most memorable individuals on YouTube. Specifically, we'll be taking a look at every single channel George Miller has ever created, including TVFilthyFrank and DIZASTAMUSIC, which birthed the FilthyFrank character. Welcome to the rise of FilthyFrank. Before the creation of FilthyFrank, George Miller created numerous videos and channels on YouTube. They are not very important, but I think it's worth acknowledging them at least. It is widely accepted that the first channel he created was Too Cool For You 92. This has just one video of a young George Miller doing some breakdancing. This was uploaded on the 17th of October 2006. However, there is a video prior to this on a channel called Cosmochino. On the 7th of June 2006, a video called Retard Ray of Two Guys Play Fighting was uploaded. It has just under 3k views, and people have speculated that the cameraman is George. This is based purely off a laugh you can hear, but we will revisit this later. The final pre-FilthyFrank channel was called Aussie Asian Boys. This consists of 4 videos, 2 of them being music parodies starring George. Both this channel and DIZASTAMUSIC were created in June 2008, and presumably Aussie Asian Boys was abandoned to focus on the main videos on DIZASTAMUSIC. When DIZASTAMUSIC was first created, it was in no way related to FilthyFrank. In June 2008, the character hadn't even been created yet. Instead, the channel was focused on general comedy sketches. The first video on the channel, and by far the most viewed from this period, was called Little John Falls Off a Table. All that happens in this video is that George does a dance on a table to Little John music and then falls off. Most of these videos follow a similar kind of vibe, but are important for a number of reasons. The majority of these videos are scripted and acted out, which shows a keenness to create from a young age. Some of these videos also have a similar crude and bizarre sense of humour which you would expect from FilthyFrank content. On top of this, not only is a young George present, but you can also see a pre-bald Dade who would go on to be an integral character in the FilthyFrank universe. There are a number of videos from this time that have been removed or privated, but looking back at DIZASTAMUSIC in 2009, you can see a certain series which is unviewable now. This was called Retarded Ray and is almost an identical name to that of the video on Cosmochino. This adds validity to Retard Ray being the first video on YouTube to feature George Miller. The last video of the pre-Frank era was Suicide PSA, which is now private. It was released in October 2009. Then the channel went silent for almost 2 years. No uploads, nothing at all. In August 2011, the FilthyFrank character was introduced to the world in the video Filthy Shit. A very simple video where Frank discusses a story of an unfortunate event that occurred while on the toilet. It's very simplistic. There aren't any other characters, no lore, no iconic sounding voice, but it was the type of video that would become synonymous with the FilthyFrank character, as many more like it would be released immediately after. For 6 months, nothing but FilthyFrank's stories and rants would be uploaded. This period allowed him to develop further Frank's mannerisms, and by the end of it you can hear the iconic rough sounding voice in Bambi's Mum Dies. A ton of videos were also removed from these 6 months. Why they were removed is unknown, but to speculate I would guess they just weren't that funny or important, or maybe he had some kind of guideline or copyright issue. Either way, this 6-month period had a ton of FilthyFrank in it. However, this would change somewhat with the first appearance of Pink Guy in early 2012 entitled Me Singin' Adele. The introduction of the character had been previously teased on Tumblr, and this video signified the beginning of George venturing into new characters. Characters such as Red Dick, Mr. Magic Man and Safari Man, and many more made their first appearance during this time. Most of the time they were just doing goofy things in public or appearing during the regular FilthyFrank videos. Despite the new characters, these videos weren't really lore related like you'd expect. Instead, they followed the formula George had been using for years, making videos purely to make people laugh. Short, ridiculous and offensive, these videos helped establish a variety of characters. However, before the FilthyFrank universe truly begun, George Miller would start a global trend. On the 2nd of February 2013, DIZASTAMUSIC released Do the Harlem Shake. The video features Pink Guy and 3 mates dancing to a short clip from the song Harlem Shake by Bauer. Almost instantly the video took off, inspiring many remakes, and this created a viral meme. The original video currently has 63 million views, and is the most viewed video on the DIZASTAMUSIC channel. However, its global success far surpassed this, as only 2 weeks after the original video release, 40,000 remakes had already been made, and this resulted in a total of 700 million views. It's easy to see why the viral meme was so successful too. It's short and sweet, making it easily shareable, and the one single camera shot and basic format made it extremely easy to replicate. By the end of the meme's lifespan, it had been replicated by a variety of YouTubers, sports teams, and was ultimately killed by The Simpsons. The success of the meme was even the catalyst for introducing YouTube views into the Billboard Top 100 charts. This meant that YouTube views now affected what songs got played on the radio. This was all started by George Miller and the Pink Guy character, but that wasn't all George Miller created in early 2013. George started 2 new channels of varying importance. One was simply called Vlogs and only has 1 video on it. This involves the character Red Dick eating toilet paper. Much more significantly, George created a brand new second channel. That channel was TVFilthyFrank. At the time, TVFilthyFrank was created to dump less important videos that didn't really fit the main channel. And on the main channel, George had just created a video that would kickstart the Filthy Frank Omniverse. The 8th of April 2013 signified the beginning of the lore that so many people enjoyed when it came to Filthy Frank. Chin Chin, a serious video, involves a range of characters appearing out of Frank's closet before Santa's brother states that Chin Chin is coming. Shortly after, Chin Chin appears, marking his first appearance on the channel and establishing the beginning of the Filthy Frank lore. Although its initial release date is important, it is not actually the first video in the timeline of the story. That would be Rock Paper Scissors, which was released in June 2013 on the second channel, but based 6,000 chromosomes prior to the events of the Chin Chin video. It's also widely accepted that the videos between Filthy Shit and Chin Chin, a serious video, act as an introductory arc to the main lore. This video isn't even technically Chin Chin's first appearance, as an alternate version was uploaded a couple of days prior, and this was quickly removed and improved by George. Some even believe that the pre-Frank videos on DIZASTAMUSIC act as an insight into a pre-Chin Chin world, and some go even further than this, believing Too Cool For You 92 was the first look into the Filthy Frank universe. That might be a bit much, but regardless of where you believe the lore begins, Chin Chin, a serious video, established the existence of a lore, and thus created it. Despite its lack of notoriety, it was a very significant moment in the rise of Filthy Frank. The Filthy Frank show continued in similar fashion for over a year, with lore videos now appearing every now and again. This included the incredibly popular Chin Chin Sacrifice. Through early to mid 2014, George created 3 more channels. Anna Gold was significant for uploading the first look at George Miller's music project under the alias Joji in 2016. However, at the time of its creation, this channel was called College Food Porn. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anything about this channel at the time. If you know anything about its beginnings, let me know in the comments. He also created Too Damn Filthy, which at the time acted as the 3rd Filthy Frank channel, and soon became home of Cringe of the Week. Just before this, George also created Joji Vlogs. This gave a behind the scenes look at George's real life, and was an attempt to distinguish the creator George Miller from his own character Filthy Frank. Unfortunately, due to being out of character, George received huge backlash from his audience who did not enjoy this new content. Therefore, the channel now has been completely purged of all its videos by George, but they have all been re-uploaded. The distaste for the man behind Filthy Frank was also evident in his most well-known deleted video, Filthy Frank Exposes Himself. This was the first time George had appeared on the Filthy Frank show as himself, and he did this to talk about his real life issues. George has a brain condition which causes seizures, and is brought on by stress. The Filthy Frank show, in combination with his college work and his job to pay for college, meant he was more susceptible to stress because of Filthy Frank. On top of that, his medication for the condition caused him to be lethargic and sleepy, which affected his productiveness. George felt this would affect the Filthy Frank show and wanted to share this with his viewers, but they were not compassionate at all. A large majority didn't take his condition seriously, and didn't care about his personal life. George received backlash for the video because all people cared about was Filthy Frank, so George removed this video. And with this, alongside the end of Joji Vlogs, George Miller removed the real him from the spotlight for now. By this time, DIZASTAMUSIC had been active for over 5 years, and considering the style of content Filthy Frank involves, the channel was bound to get guideline strikes eventually. This, alongside a host of copyright strikes, resulted in George deciding to end the channel in August 2014. He did this in an attempt to preserve DIZASTAMUSIC. Frank wasn't going away entirely, and George didn't want to lose the channel to some random YouTube policing. Therefore, DIZASTAMUSIC became a museum of creativity, growth, and an immense display of stupidity from a variety of beloved characters. But with this, the channel was finished, and therefore Frank had to find a new home. As previously mentioned, the channel TVFilthyFrank began as the official second channel of Filthy Frank. The channel was originally intended to showcase bloopers, behind the scenes short clips, and videos that didn't quite make the cut. However, this all changed in 2014 with TVFilthyFrank becoming the new main channel. Although this was announced in August 2014, Frank mentions that TVFilthyFrank has been the main channel for a while. Therefore, it's difficult to pinpoint the exact moment TVFilthyFrank became the main channel. My opinion is that it's with the music video for Pink Guy's Kill Yourself in June 2014, as Pink Guy's music would become a mainstay of the TVFilthyFrank channel going forward. TVFilthyFrank would continue from where DIZASTAMUSIC left off, and the content remained largely the same, but there were a few changes. Firstly, TVFilthyFrank was home to Japanese 101, a series where Frank taught his viewers to speak Japanese. It was pretty accurate, and I guess it provided some educational value to the channel. It would eventually be moved to the Too Damn Filthy channel after a couple of years, but when TVFilthyFrank became the main channel, Japanese 101 became a main series. Secondly, TVFilthyFrank was significantly more lore driven than DIZASTAMUSIC. Where DIZASTAMUSIC laid the foundation of the characters and supplied a couple lore videos, TVFilthyFrank picked it right up. DIZASTAMUSIC began the Dade arc with the video Noise Complaint, which was one of DIZASTAMUSIC's final videos. And TVFilthyFrank would conclude the Dade arc with Worst Film Ever in late 2014. From here, many more arcs would be created, such as the Revenge of Chin Chin and the Fake Frank arch. This was vital, as the lore-driven videos surely must have given George a much more creative outlet with the Filthy Frank character than the standard stories and rant style Frank was previously known for. This also gave die-hard fans something much more tangible to get immersed into when they wanted more Filthy Frank. Moving into 2015, George would also create yet another channel called Pink Omega. It features two songs created by George Miller, which both eventually found their way onto Pink Guy's solo album Pink Season. However, back on the main channel, George was about to release one of his biggest ever videos, and here to talk to you about that is one of my best mates on YouTube, IAreZack.
100 Accurate Life Hacks is to this day the most viewed video involving Filthy Frank, sitting at over 35 million views. The video was released on October 3rd of 2015 and is essentially just a barrage of ridiculous life hacks which would never help anyone. Some of these life hacks are pretty dark, some of them are just downright stupid, but it's all done with the iconic Filthy Frank humor that his viewers love. It's hard to know exactly why this video was so successful, but I have a couple ideas. For starters, a lot of memes and iconic moments came out of this one video, such as the meme involving Filthy Frank putting a shotgun to his own head and the notorious ravioli, what's in the pocket only meme. This would have inevitably brought people into the video when they discovered the memes, but hadn't ever seen the video. Also, when you consider how successful channels like 5 Minute Crafts, who suggest arguably worse life hacks are, it'd be understandable if the algorithm picked up on a life hack video from an already established creator. But despite this being Filthy Frank's most successful video, this is not TVFilthyFrank's most successful video. Instead, the accolade goes to Pink Guy with his video for STFU. Released on September 23rd, the song originally appeared on the channel 2 months prior with Loser Reads Hater Comments 5. STFU has gained almost double the views of 100 Accurate Life Hacks with 69 million views. This even surpasses HARLEM Shake's view count on DIZASTAMUSIC. Once again, it's difficult to pinpoint exactly what made this video so successful compared to the rest, but it's clear that it's grown massively over time. It's gained over 20 million views since March 2nd, 2019. Honestly, my best guess is that because its music and George Miller's current musical project is so successful, STFU is probably being pushed quite heavily by the algorithm in the suggestion bar on Joji videos. Regardless of why this is the most successful video on all of the Filthy Frank channels, it's a great song, a great music video, and absolutely deserving of the popularity.
Filthy Frank had established himself as a huge figure by the time these videos came out. By the end of 2015, he already hit 1 million subscribers. However, one of the biggest contributing factors to his overall success was his collaborative work with iDubbbz, MaxMofo, Anything for Views, and How To Basic. Together, the boys made a ton of videos with a variety of content, ranging from Deadly Twister to eating cake with alternative ingredients to even just vlogging. There are loads of videos to get stuck into from their time collabing, and at the time it was a genius move. From mid-2015 to the end of 2016, we got to see some of the most entertaining and unique content these guys have put out to date, and that was probably due to the collective effort of everyone involved. People to this day still talk about 2016 as a golden period in YouTube history. This is usually due to nostalgia over commentary and drama channels being much more entertaining and ruthless with things like Content Cop and Leafy is Here, but for me these boys working together was the best part about this period, not only because of how good the videos were, but also because of the crossover these videos created. Before this time, I only knew of Filthy Frank and How To Basic from the group. This meant in iDubbbz and MaxMofo I had 2 brand new channels to binge and enjoy. That is part of the genius of this period. These were a bunch of YouTubers who were unique and edgy to the point that audiences of most other generic YouTube channels probably wouldn't want to watch them. But these collabs allowed them to tap into each other's audiences and find a huge number of new fans. This was more impactful than your average collab due to each one of the boys being unique and edgy compared to the rest of YouTube. Each one provided something brand new for a new viewer, and this would have led to a large portion of viewers becoming huge fans of all of them. This is why to this day people still talk about this group and see it as an extremely iconic period in YouTube history. The end of 2016 would see George continue to create Filthy Frank videos, including arguably my favourite lore-based video, Filthy Frank vs Chin Chin. For me it was incredibly funny and well put together, and gave a very satisfying end to the fake Frank character. I personally absolutely love his death scene. What is probably more noteworthy about this period though was the release of Pink Season on the 4th of January 2017. This was released on TVFilthyFrank as a full album video, and each individual song got its own video on Too Damn Filthy. Most importantly was the fact that this was a full studio album release, being available on platforms such as Spotify and iTunes. The album was a huge success, reaching 70th in the US Billboard Top 200 and reaching 9th in the US Top R&B and Hip Hop albums. This must have been an extremely fulfilling moment for George because he's always claimed music was his #1 passion over comedy. In fact, from the very beginning, George saw YouTube as an opportunity to promote his music. It's right there in the name of DIZASTAMUSIC. The comedy videos were always for fun, and a chance to get viewers' eyes on him, which would hopefully transition into listening to his music. But when Filthy Frank started to see success, he felt obligated to run with it. Through the creation of Pink Guy, George had found a way to get the viewers of Filthy Frank to listen to his music. It was the crude dark humour which Frank fans enjoyed, but gave George an opportunity to enjoy his main passion. Through the history of Filthy Frank, original music was ever present, and the years of creating comedic music writing led to an extremely enjoyable and successful album. However, the success of Pink Season along with George's desire to create serious music was probably a contributing factor in the decision to end Filthy Frank. The 27th of September 2017 saw the final video on TVFilthyFrank be released, entitled Francis of the Filth. This is a lore video in which Filthy Frank falls through a portal and Chin Chin is sent to an untold location. Pink Guy is left to protect an important book. That book is called Francis of the Filth. This book was available to buy by viewers and was received very well with good reviews. It reveals a lot of previously unknown details about Frank and the Omniverse, but its inconsistency with the show has brought into question whether it is in fact the same lore or a different story entirely. Regardless of this, Francis of the Filth was the final video George released, and it left the lore unfinished. This, alongside the lack of YouTubers remotely similar to him, really made it difficult for Frank's most die-hard fans to deal with his exit at first. Unfortunately, it had to happen though. Despite George being a talented creative individual, fans of Filthy Frank had always rejected the real him. George had always had a passion for music, but the Filthy Frank fans had only ever accepted his music through the lens of comedy. George himself had changed. What he once found funny he no longer did, and as he got older he no longer enjoyed making Filthy Frank. Beyond all of that though, the neurological condition he'd warned his viewers about was starting to become too much, and the iconic Frank voice was starting to damage his throat. For the good of his own health he had to stop. So this was the end of Filthy Frank. One of YouTube's biggest names was gone, but the end of Filthy Frank meant George could focus more on his Joji work. With 2 more studio albums and an EP, as well as sold out tours and the opportunity to work with other huge music stars such as Diplo, Rich Brian and Guetta, George Miller is living out his dream. And with the removal of all 3 infamous cake videos, YouTube have made it even more clear that there's no place for Filthy Frank, and that focusing on the music was probably the correct decision by Joji. The rise of Filthy Frank may have been and gone, but the rise of George Miller has only just begun. Thank you so much for watching through the whole video, and a big thank you to IAreZack for his segment on TVFilthyFrank's biggest videos. You may recognise Zack from his notorious Sadass series, and he's currently making covers of Pink Guy's songs. He's one of my oldest YouTube mates and he's absolutely awesome, so go watch some of his stuff. Also a big thank you to Coinplant for editing this video. He's absolutely nailed it, and it was a bigger project than usual, so I really appreciate all the effort he put into this. Be sure to check out his YouTube channel, link to his channel and Zack's will be in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.